The subtle tension in your hands is the first thing you notice when you sit down in front of the screen, even before you see the numbers, even before the charts start moving. It's almost imperceptible at first, a slight gripping of the mouse, a faint curling of your fingers around the edge of the desk, a tiny tremor you almost ignore because it feels normal, feels like it's always been there. But it isn't normal, not really. It is the body whispering the truth that your mind has been pretending to forget. You are on edge, alert, and anxious, even if you tell yourself otherwise. Every trade you've taken, every opportunity you've waited for, every time you hesitated or rushed because fear was louder than strategy, it leaves a mark in your body. That tension in your hands is the diary of every fear, every doubt, every longing to control what you cannot, a map of every small victory and every quiet defeat. You feel it when the market pauses, when the numbers hesitate, when your eyes flit across screens like they are trying to catch something you cannot see. Your hands know before your mind does. Your hands betray what you are thinking, and if you are honest, what you are feeling. Sometimes it's a twitch, a tiny tightening of the knuckles. Sometimes it's a full-body subtle shaking that you can't hide, even if you try. And the funny thing is, no one tells you this when you start trading. No one says that the first battle isn't with the market. It's with the way your own body reacts before you even make a decision. You might sit there pretending calm, but your fingers remember every past mistake, every impulsive click, every hesitation that cost you more than you wanted to admit. You learn to hide it, to cover it with purposeful gestures, but the hands always remember. And then there's the irony. The more you try to control, the tighter they get. The more you tell yourself you are disciplined, the more subtle tension spreads, like an invisible signal from your nervous system to the world, a sign that you are still human, still vulnerable, still learning. And this is where the real understanding begins, when you start noticing the rhythm of your own body, when you realize that every heartbeat, every squeeze, every twitch, every shift of weight in your chair is not a weakness. It is information. It is the earliest indicator of fear, excitement, anticipation, hesitation, all wrapped up in the smallest muscles that people never think to notice. That's why the hands matter more than anything else, because they are the first to tell the story, the first to betray the truth, and if you learn to listen carefully, they can also teach you how to regain control before it slips away. You start noticing patterns in your hands, subtle shifts that tell you more than your mind ever could. The way your thumb brushes against the edge of the mouse, the little tap of your fingers on the desk, the almost imperceptible tightening and releasing, it all speaks a language you have been learning without realizing it. Sometimes it is excitement that makes them jitter, the anticipation of a trade about to break your way. Other times it is fear that freezes them, that tiny hesitation before you hit enter, that whisper of doubt that perhaps you are about to make the wrong move. You try to rationalize, telling yourself it's just nerves, it's just focus. But the truth is written in the muscles, in the tendons, in the very bones of your hands. Every trade you've ever regretted leaves a trace, and even when you think you have moved on, your hands remember. They remember the clicks that went too early, the moments you waited too long, the trades you watched slip away because your body didn't act fast enough. And you realize that mastery isn't just about reading charts or following strategies. It's about learning to read yourself, to read your own subtle signals. The tension, the trembling, the restlessness, these are not failures. They are messages. If you ignore them, they will control you, push you into impulsive decisions, make you second-guess everything. But if you listen, if you truly notice the whisper beneath the grip, the pulse beneath the tremor, you can start to guide it, to shape it, to turn instinct into insight. You can learn to slow your breath, to soften the curl of your fingers, to let your hands speak with clarity instead of fear. And the change is profound, not just in trading, but in how you inhabit your own body, how you respond under pressure, how you stay present when the world wants to pull you away. The hands become a teacher, the subtle tension a lesson, a constant feedback loop, reminding you that control is not about force, but about awareness. And for the first time, you understand that confidence does not come from being unafraid. It comes from feeling every fear, every hesitation, every trembling impulse in your body, and choosing to act anyway. By now, you can almost predict your own reactions before they happen. The subtle tension in your hands is no longer just a physical quirk. It is a mirror of your mind, a barometer of your fear, your anticipation, your desire to control what cannot be controlled. When you ignore it, mistakes come fast, almost invisible until the damage is done. A twitch you dismiss as nothing might be the signal that hesitation is creeping in, that your brain is doubting what your strategy already decided. That microsecond pause before you hit enter can cost you more than the market itself ever could. And yet most traders never stop to feel. They assume that strategy alone is enough, that knowledge of the charts, patterns, indicators is all that matters. But knowledge without awareness of the body is like a map with no compass. You see the opportunity, but your hands tell a different story. They tighten, they flinch, they betray hesitation. And if you do not listen, the market exposes it in ways that are brutal and unforgiving. This is where experience teaches what theory cannot. You begin to notice the subtle differences. A confident trade feels different in your hands than one taken out of fear. A controlled decision is accompanied by a relaxed curl, a gentle pressure, a rhythm that flows naturally, not forced. You start to experiment, letting your hands guide your focus, using the tension as a signal rather than a punishment. And slowly the fear begins to transform. It is no longer something to fight or hide. It is information, raw and immediate, something that can be channeled into clarity. You understand that every flinch, every tiny squeeze, every twitch is feedback, an opportunity to adjust before it is too late. You realize that the real edge in trading is not in predicting the market. It is in predicting yourself, in noticing the silent cues of your own body, in turning subtle tension into deliberate action. When you finally accept this, when you allow your hands to speak their truth and respond with awareness instead of denial, trading ceases to be a battle against numbers. It becomes a dialogue with yourself, an intimate conversation between mind and body, a dance where every micro-movement matters and every pulse is a teacher. Ignoring the subtle tension in your hands is like ignoring a warning light on a dashboard. It doesn't take long for small neglects to become costly lessons. The mistakes start small, a hesitation that costs a fraction, a premature click that erodes confidence, but they accumulate, layering over time until every trade feels heavier, every decision feels more urgent, more pressured, more fraught with consequence. Your hands remember every one of these moments, holding the memory of past losses in muscles that tighten reflexively, in knuckles that curl without conscious thought. You start noticing patterns in yourself that are uncomfortable to admit. The way you avoid certain trades because your body tells you not yet, even when your mind insists, go. Or the way you force trades because you are trying to prove control, only to feel the tension spike. The subtle tremor spread through your fingers, the sigh of the body saying, you are not ready. These are the invisible costs, the psychological tax that traders rarely discuss. And they are brutal because, unlike the market, your body cannot be ignored for long. The accumulated tension seeps into your mind, warping decisions, amplifying fear, reducing clarity. You begin to second-guess strategy, overanalyze patterns, hesitate when decisiveness is required, and act impulsively when hesitation becomes unbearable. But there is a lesson hidden here, and it is transformative if you are willing to see it. Every twitch, every squeeze, every subtle tightening is information, a guide to your own mental state. The trick is not to suppress it, but to acknowledge it, to let your hands become teachers. By observing the physical cues, by mapping tension to emotion and decision, you begin to gain insight that no chart, indicator, or mentor could ever provide. You learn to respond to fear before it dictates action, to recognize excitement before it pushes impulsivity, to discern hesitation before it erodes opportunity. And with that awareness comes freedom, not from fear, not from loss, not from the market, but from the part of yourself that used to be blind to your own body, the part that allowed tension to hijack judgment. Once you start listening, once you start noticing, the hands stop being a source of anxiety and become instruments of clarity, conduits that translate subtle sensation into deliberate, confident action. You begin to understand that mastery in trading is mastery of self, that the quietest signals often carry the most vital lessons, and that the journey from subtle tension to deliberate control is where real confidence is forged. Once you start paying attention, the hands reveal everything you need to know if you are willing to listen. The first step is noticing, really noticing, without judgment, the slightest tension, the tiniest tremor, the subtle gripping that precedes hesitation. You observe the curl of your fingers, the pressure on the mouse, the restless tapping, and you name it. This is anxiety, this is anticipation, this is doubt. Naming it gives it shape, makes it tangible, something you can address rather than something that controls you. Then comes the breath. Not a rushed inhale or a nervous exhale, but deliberate, slow, grounding breaths that ripple through your arms into your hands, loosening the grip, softening the curl, releasing what has accumulated unconsciously. The hands begin to respond, relaxing, and in that relaxation, the mind follows. Mindfulness becomes tangible in your fingers. You can close your eyes for a moment, feel the pulse in your hands, let attention flow from fingertips to palms to forearms, mapping tension to emotion. You start to see the pattern. When fear creeps in, the grip tightens, the shoulders rise, the breathing becomes shallow. When excitement overwhelms, the fingers twitch uncontrollably, moving before you are ready. Awareness is the key, but so is gentle action. You do not force calm, you allow it. A micro adjustment in posture, a small unclenching of fingers, a subtle shift in wrist position, all become ways to communicate to your nervous system that you are in control, that the decision can be made deliberately. Over time, these techniques create a feedback loop. The more you practice, the more your hands tell you truthfully, and the more truth you can act upon. You start noticing when tension signals hesitation before your mind even interprets the charts, when subtle relaxation signals readiness before you click, when the body's intuition outpaces conscious analysis. Trading becomes less about reaction and more about dialogue. With the market, yes, but primarily with yourself. And the power of this is profound. The hands, once a betrayer, become allies. The subtle tension, once a source of anxiety, becomes a guide. Every micro movement, every twitch, every squeeze is now information that you can use to act with confidence, clarity, and precision. You begin to understand that mastery is not measured in profits alone, but in the ability to inhabit your body fully, to listen, respond, and integrate sensation with strategy, turning subtle signals into deliberate, effective action. And now, when you sit in front of the screen, the subtle tension in your hands no longer surprises you. You know it intimately, you understand its language, and you respond with awareness rather than reaction. Every twitch, every squeeze, every curl has a meaning, a story, a lesson. You have learned to read it, to use it, to let it guide you rather than control you. Confidence is no longer an abstract ideal or a performance you put on for the market or for yourself. It is embodied. It lives in the softening of your grip, in the gentle pressure of your fingertips, in the rhythm of your hands moving deliberately, harmonizing with the flow of charts and numbers. You act decisively because you are aware, not because you suppress fear. You act with clarity because you notice hesitation before it multiplies. You act with courage because the body and mind are aligned, working together as instruments of insight. The subtle tension, once a betrayer, has become a teacher, a mirror, a guide to the depths of your own psychology. You realize that every trader faces it, that mastery is not about eliminating fear or doubt, but about feeling it fully and choosing to act anyway. And when you finally integrate this understanding, trading becomes not just a profession, but a practice, a discipline of self-awareness and presence. You carry this lesson beyond the screen, beyond the charts, into every decision, every interaction, every challenge. The hands, once restless and anxious, now speak with confidence, clarity, and purpose. And in that transformation, you discover the truest edge in trading, not the market, not strategy, not luck, but the profound understanding of yourself, the courage to feel and act, and the quiet power of subtle awareness guiding every move you make. Appreciate your time here. These moments are for observing yourself, not the market. A like or subscribe is welcome if you feel it, but don't rush. Keep this awareness with you and let it guide your mind, your emotions, and your decisions.